Ladies and gentlemen, what I'm going to discuss with you tonight is what I call the advantages of car leasing. Why or why not would you lease an automobile? The first thing you're going to come across, what I'm going to say to you, is that all of you have purchased a car before, and some of you are going to be purchasing a car in the future. Likely, if you've never done a lease, you've probably wasted money on the purchase of a car. And I'm going to show you that tonight why. Most of the people who purchase cars today really live in the dark. Now, most of what I'm going to share with you will be what I learned being a car salesman during the 80s and the 90s for almost 8.5 years. Not much has changed during that time. There's still, vehicle is still a depreciating asset. That's something that will go down in value over time versus an appreciating asset like a home that should go up in value over time. Experts say that you should always try to spend the least amount of money on a depreciating asset and the most amount of money on an appreciating asset. A lot of people say that leasing a vehicle is like renting a car. Nothing could be further from the truth because they say you have nothing to show for it. That's like saying Barack Obama is a good president. In the end, we're going to have nothing to show for that either. But what we're going to look at first is the three types of car buyers. The first is the cash buyer. They're the person that pay cash for everything. In many ways, this is the best way to purchase a car, but how many people really have that means? The biggest thing that you do there is you have large cash outlays. You don't pay any interest on anything, but then you don't earn any interest on your future monies as well. Now, the vast majority of people finance cars, all right? And they're going to finance a car for 4 years, 5 years, and even 6 years now. Some higher purchases are up to 7 and 8. Now, 4 out of 5 people, this is statistics, show 4 out of 5 people who finance a car for 5 years or longer decide to trade before. Now, what that does is effectively cause you to be leasing, and I'll explain this to you later. What you're essentially doing is paying more money to do the same thing you could do for less money. Payment purchasers are the kind of people that the only thing that's important to them is the monthly payment. How much can I afford? If I can afford $300 a month, let's get the most amount of money for $300 a month. $400 and on and on. Financing a car, in many ways, is a lot like a life insurance policy. You never really get a chance to see the entire benefit. For leasing buyers, what you get to do is to control the amount of money you spend per month, you control the amount of money you spend at the onset, and the long-term plan is to control the amount of money you spend on automobiles, which are a depreciating asset. Planning for the future is what I call the previously personal preferences prior to performance. What we're going to do today is we're going to look at the same vehicle. It's going to be a Ford Fusion. I was never a foreign car guy when I was in the automobile business, so we're going to stick to an American car, a 2014. And I got this from Ford Payment Calculator.com. All right? What I'm not going to do today is to take into account any taxation. We can explain that in another time because each state has different tax rates. So I'm not going to get into that now. So I'm just going to try to compare a purchase of an automobile on a finance contract and the purchase of a vehicle using a lease. The average price of these cars is about $23,000, and one I chose for this example was $22,795, both on the purchase and on the lease. On a purchase, you generally have to put down at least 10%. You see a lot of no cash downs and things like that. They just attract higher payments. But we're going to put 10% down on the purchase of $2,280. Leaves you approximately $20,000 to finance. The lease is going to have only $300 down. And it isn't really even a down payment, it's your first payment in advance. This translates into $334 a month for 60 months, which is 5 years. This translates into $283 a month for 36 months, which is 3 years. So you can see right off the bat, the term of your contract is different. Here, this is the expiration of your contract. After 3 years, you walk away from that car. Over here, at the end of 60 months, 5 years, you can walk away from that car and you own it. But you still have to keep paying for it after 3 years. Because remember, over here, 4 out of 5 people trade their car in before the term of the loan. And when it comes right down to it, I'll explain that later, it takes almost 4 years out of a 5-year loan to pay that car off so that you're even on it. Over here, this translates into about $4,464 per year of an expenditure. Over here, this translates into $34.96 per year. Now, what that means is you're spending $1,000 more a year to drive the same car. Why would you do that? Just so you can own it at the end of the term? And if you don't have it, if you don't keep it for the full term, you don't own it anyway. Now, taking into account over 10 years, that becomes even more readily available. You end up spending give or take $44,000 over here versus $34,960 over here. So it's $9,000 to $10,000 difference. Even if you account for the value of the vehicle, you're going to be a difference of about $5,000 to $6,000 for all intents and purposes. Now, nobody, again, keeps those vehicles for the full term. So you're never going to see this money. You're going to see this money right here. So why would you spend more money per year to do the same thing? Let's come this to a close and recap this. What are some of the things that leasing allows you to do? Number one, it allows you to save on cash outlays. You're only putting $300 to $400 down, sometimes even no money out of your pocket for a lease, versus 10 to 15% on a purchase. You save on monthly payments. In our example back here, we were at least $50 a month less for the same term on the same vehicle. It allows you to afford more car. You might even go to a more expensive vehicle for the same monthly payment as you'd be on a purchase, or a bigger vehicle that meets your needs. Also, you have different packages that are available on these vehicles. Sometimes a limited edition or a special edition package will actually lease better and for less money than the less equipped car. Lastly, what you will get is a new car every 3 years instead of every 4 to 5 years, the break-even point on a purchase. You will be able to choose what you want to do after that lease is over, because if your life changes, you're allowed to do whatever you want. You can move on to another car. Here's the whole thing. Will leasing work for you? I don't know. You got to give it a shot. Look at your life plan and decide, will it work for me? And then do it.